All right. I'm excited for this one. We're going to get rocking pretty quickly here. So today we're talking about changing your future for the better and how you can start today. Now, before we get into the show, as always, if you've tuned into the show before, you know the drill. You know why we're here. We're here to help athletes reach new levels in their careers in sport. And so if you have tuned into the show, you know the value we're delivering on a daily basis. We're here every single day through the week, Monday to Friday. And we're up to 236 episodes doing that. So if you have tuned in before, make sure that you are sharing the show with a friend, with a teammate, with a coach, with someone who is going to benefit from hearing this message. Because again, the goal here is to help athletes level up. The goal here is to help athletes reach higher level versions of themselves to allow them to build their dream careers in their sport. Because as you all know, anybody who's been an athlete for a while, anybody who's been around athletes for a while, you know it is not an easy thing to actually help to actually get a career in sport, let alone the one you want, let alone the one that sets you up for your future. This is a difficult industry. It's a difficult world. So any edge you can have is going to be of benefit. And one of the things that I see so many athletes struggle with is, guys, hard work is not it. You can work hard every single day, and that's awesome. Good for you. But hard work is not it. Hard work is not it. And the reason hard work is not it is because everyone who will achieve anything works hard, plain and simple. So we're going to get into the show in just one quick second. Now, all right. Why are you being weird? My mic is giving me some problems, but I think we've got it now. Must be really fun start to the podcast for everybody watching me fiddle around with technology. There we go. I think we got it now. So we're going to get into the show. We're talking about how you can change your future for the better and how you can start today. And we're going to get into it here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we're going to be talking about changing your future for the better. Now, why I wanted to bring this one to you guys is because it was a couple of months ago, but I turned 30 this year. And for anyone who has done that before, it causes you to reflect a little bit. You know, look back on what you've accomplished in life, look back on where you're at, if you're happy with where you're at, if you're not happy with where you're at, how to change that, all of those kinds of things. Now, one of the really cool things about turning 30 this year and doing all of that reflection, doing all of that thought back to, what life looked like 10 years ago was that I've gotten to see what kind of a drastically different person I am than when I was 20. And obviously, yeah, those are a pretty critical 10 years. If you're not making advancements in your life from 20 to 30, that's probably a pretty big problem. But I look back at who I was when I was 20 and I look at who I am now, and it's unrecognizable. And I'm very, very proud of that. And so I wanted to talk to you guys all about, kind of how I made those changes myself. And, one thing that you can start doing today to ensure that you can look back from 10 years from now and be the same level of proud that I am right now, and the same level of proud I know I'm going to be when I look back at right now when I'm 40. So basically, if you want to drastically change your future, as you know, we speak to athletes on this show. So if you're an athlete right now, you're competing lower levels, but you're, kind of getting up there, you're doing a couple of things, but you're not where you want to be, and you truly want to drastically change your future. You want to compete at the top level in your sport. You want to make a better living. You want to achieve anything you want for yourself and for the generation of your family coming after you. There's one thing you need to start doing right away. And that one thing is changing your habits. And guys, like I said, this isn't some drastic thing that you need to start doing. You don't need to completely alter your life today to make it happen. But let me explain. When I was 20 years old, 10 years ago, for lack of a nicer word, I was a giant fucking loser. And I don't mean that in as harsh of a way as it might sound, but I was a giant fucking loser. I did not believe in myself at all. I was Well, I had started my degree earlier that year. I started the degree when I was 19. I can't remember exactly when I dropped out of my first university degree and changed my major, but I was pursuing a modern languages degree in first year university because I'd been convinced that what I actually wanted to do wasn't possible. I hadn't actually tried, but I had convinced myself that it wasn't possible. I wasn't necessarily in a bad spot. I was in university. I was, living on my own for the first time. I'd had a girlfriend for a couple of years. Like everything was okay, but I was just unhappy. I was just unhappy. I was pursuing something I didn't want. I wasn't putting very much effort into it. And I was working towards a life I didn't want. And none of it made any fucking sense. And the reason was because I had zero self belief. Since I was 13 years old, I wanted to own a gym. I wanted to own a gym. I wanted to be an athlete. I wanted to train athletes professionally. And without even trying to do it for a living, without even trying to pursue it in university, I just decided it wasn't a thing and just went into a languages degree instead. Now, if you followed my story at all, if you've been watching the podcast for a while, listened to the podcast for a while, you know that I ended up changing out of that languages degree and actually pursuing the degree that I wanted. But even when I started pursuing that degree, I was pursuing it. My mindset was I would rather pursue something I enjoy and have it lead nowhere than pursue something I don't enjoy and have it lead to a job. So even that was a fucking loser mindset. I'd rather pursue something that I don't want. I'd rather pursue something that I want and have it lead nowhere. Like, listen to me say that one more time. I would rather pursue something that I want and have it lead nowhere. I was already deciding that the degree that I was pursuing wasn't going to lead me anywhere. I was already deciding that I was going to school for 4 years. Yeah, I was going to enjoy the subjects a little more, but I already had basically decided that it wasn't going to do anything for me. And like, that's just, that mindset blows me away looking back at it. And so, at that time through my university degree, that's pretty much where I stayed. Like in my head, I was pursuing this degree because I enjoyed it, but it wasn't going to do anything for me. So, I guess we'll see what post university life has to offer, but it's probably not going to go anywhere. I'm probably never going to make much money. I'm probably never going to end up owning a gym like I want to and working with pro athletes like I want to. But, may as well just do this degree because I like it. And like my bar for myself was so low. It was basically like, don't be fucking homeless. And then, okay, life was good. And like looking back, it was fucking sad. So again, I wasn't necessarily in a bad spot, but I hated it. I hated the fact that I was working towards originally a degree I didn't want. And then I hated the fact that I was working towards a degree I wanted, basically already resigning myself to the fact that it wasn't going to lead anywhere. And, I like to talk the talk. I like to tell people what I was going to do, but I had no real belief in it. And as a result, I didn't really pursue it that hard because I didn't really believe. And because I didn't really believe, I didn't really pursue. And I didn't really pursue. And then the results didn't come because I wasn't really pushing that fucking hard. And so that lasted for a few years until I started to make some shifts. Now, one of the best things that ever happened to me was I lost my first job in strength and conditioning, and I was broken up with by the girl that I'd been with for the previous 6 years, all within the span of 2 weeks. And this led me down an extremely bad place, but it also made me realize that I wasn't happy with where I was at. That relationship, I hold no ill will. I wish her nothing but the best. So this is not in any way any kind of like slamming on her or anything like that. But that relationship was not good by the time it ended. I think we cared a lot about each other, but we had just drifted apart. Things weren't good. It wasn't the right relationship for either of us, but we had a lot of trouble coming to that conclusion. So we ended up being together for a lot longer than we really should have. And when that relationship ended and I lost my job all within 2 weeks of each other, I remember sitting down with myself and saying, what the hell's wrong with me that I would stay in a relationship that I know was bad for 2 years until the point that she broke up with me? And it made me realize that I was not happy with not just where I was at professionally, but who I was as a person. And I needed something to change. So when I was 24, I moved to Calgary. Why I moved to Calgary was because one day I sat on my computer about 2 o'clock in the morning, drunk in the middle of the week, and thought my life sucks and I need to go somewhere else. And so I started Googling strength and conditioning jobs in Canada, and I found one in Calgary, and it was the only one of probably the 50 resumes that I put out around the country that actually got back to me. So I found this job. The one thing with this job was that it was up to me to find my own clients. I'd never done anything like that before, so I was extremely nervous about that. And again, going into it with a massive fucking loser mindset, my thought was I have enough saved up that I can stay there for 5 or 6 months. And then if it all fails, then I can just move back home and try to figure out what's next. And so again, before I'd even started, I had already resigned myself to failure. This is just 6 years ago now. And so I was super nervous coming into this job, and I walked in on my first day and I realized this place was different. I realized that if I wanted to succeed in strength and conditioning, I needed to stay here. And in the end, the place ended up having its fair share of problems. But in the beginning, the reason that I realized that was, first of all, there were coaches at this gym making, not just surviving, but making a good fucking living coaching athletes. And I'd never seen that before in my life. And so for the first time ever, I truly got the impression strength and conditioning is a career that might work. I saw coaches making like a decent living. Nobody absolutely crazy, but I saw coaches making a decent living. I saw coaches bringing in money that was able to support themselves and their family through strength and conditioning and through bringing in their own clients and through building up their clientele. So for the first time in my life, I'm looking at the career I've wanted since I was a 13-year-old kid. This is 11 years in the making. And thinking, wow, it's possible. But then reality started to set in again. I had enough money saved up to stay there for 6 months, living very, very, very minimally. I was, getting over a breakup, and I was dealing with a whole lot of shit on the personal end. But I realized that I had to stay here. So I realized if I'm going to start bringing in my own clients, if I'm going to actually make it here, I need to make some changes because the guy that I am right now is not going to make that work. And so I started talking to my team leader at the time, Robin, about, things I can start doing to start bringing in clients and, work that I needed to do. And basically came to him and said, I need to be here. How do I make it work? And he turned me on to a couple of personal development people, Gary Vaynerchuk being one of them, a couple of other people that I started listening to religiously. When I mean religiously, this was the first shift in the habits. When I mean I listened to these people religiously, I literally woke up and turned on a Gary Vaynerchuk video. It did not matter what the video was. It was just listening to his mentality, listening to his, self-belief, developing self-awareness, all of these major keys that I knew I needed if I was going to make this job work. And I woke up, I turned on one of his videos. I ate breakfast, I turned on one of his videos. I fell asleep to this dude's fucking podcast every night for 6 months because he preached personal development at such a high level, and he preached developing self-awareness at such a high level. And I knew if I was going to make this work, I needed to make changes in those areas. So that was my first shift in my habits. This wasn't some drastic thing that I started, I went from loser in himself magically to guy that's just perfect in every way. I shifted one habit. Instead of starting my day and, watching TV or starting my day and staring off into space, I started my day with personal development every single day. And I still do that. And I was going through this dude's videos 10 to 15 a day. Honestly, probably more than I actually needed, but it was just so good to hear that positivity drowning out any thoughts of you're a fucking loser and you won't be able to make this work. And more I drowned those negative thoughts with this dude's delusional positivity, the more and more I started to realize that I was shifting how I was thinking about myself. I was showing up to the gym, and instead of being like, oh my God, I don't know anything and I need to sit as a fly on the wall and hope that nobody steps on me, I started showing up to the gym and actually engaging. Started showing up to the gym and asking questions, trying to learn, trying to improve, trying to soak in every bit of information that I could so that when I had clients, I was going to be able to deliver that information to them at a higher level. So that was the first shift. Now, that was great, but I still had no ability to sell. I still had no ability to actually bring in clients. And I knew that if I was going to make this job work, I needed to learn how to actually bring clients in the door, not just be more confident in myself. So what I did is I got the opportunity to join a networking group called BNI Elite here in Calgary. Those people are still very near and dear to my hearts. I left that group about 6 months ago, so I was there a little over 5 years. And the reason this was such a huge thing for me is that mentally I was cheap, and like I didn't like spending money on anything. And so the idea of investing money in anything literally was very, very difficult for me. But I knew that this networking group had the potential to help not only bring clients in the door, but teach me how to be more confident as not technically a business owner, but someone who needed to grow his own business. And so by spending that money, by investing that money and developing myself as a business owner, as a networker, as, you know, a salesperson in terms of being able to actually bring clients in the door, I was able to make that change that then allowed me to be more successful with actually bringing clients in the door and making it at this gym. Now, that was, again, a second habit. I started having to learn that in order to make money, you need to spend money. And I started to get over that habit of being cheap and always looking for how do I save the most, and starting to think along the lines of being smart and how do I actually achieve the most. Now, that was one step in that journey, and that journey is still being worked on, but that was a huge start to me being able to actually make it in this career. Investing in myself for the first time, putting a significant amount of money towards something that is actually going to help me achieve the goals that I have. Now, the next thing was starting to get past the idea that I hated being on video. I hated being on camera. I hated having anyone really see me. And so I knew social media was important. Again, going back to the Gary Vaynerchuk videos, this dude pumped that into your mind like nothing else. And so I knew if I was going to make this thing work, I needed to get better on social media. I needed to understand it. I needed to be consistent with it. And I needed people to actually be able to see me so that people would want to work with me. And so I started listening to social media marketers, Gary Vaynerchuk still being one of them. And then I started listening to, you know, videos that I found on YouTube, how to grow an Instagram following, how to gain clients on Instagram, talking to people in my networking group that were focused in marketing, literally anything and everything I could do in order to make this business survive. And again, this was a very difficult habit for me. I had always grown up with, I don't like being on camera. I don't like talking. I don't like people knowing me or seeing me, because if people see me, they might not like me. And that was really difficult for me to take as well, especially with someone who struggled with self-belief. But again, guys, the main point I want to get across with this episode is that if you are trying to build a career for yourself, if you're an athlete right now and you truly want to make it to the top, getting into these uncomfortable situations, moving across the country to find the better gym, or in my case, the better job, getting comfortable investing in yourself. For me, it was that networking group. For you, that can be, you know, better sports therapy. That can be better coaching. That can be, you know, whatever it needs to be that's going to help you take it to the next level. And guys, I want to stress as well, when I joined that networking group, I didn't have the fucking money to do it. You know, I didn't have thousands of dollars sitting around. Like I told you, I had enough money to make it through 6 months, and that was it. And I joined that group when I had 0 clients, so I had nothing coming in the door. So I put basically everything I had left in the bank into joining that group. And then I knew my fucking back's against the wall. If this doesn't work now, I'm fucked. So that was the moment that it caused me to triple down on developing myself as a business owner, as a coach, everything. Because if I didn't make it work, I was fucked. And that's the uncomfortability you guys need to get used to. I have so many people tell me that, you know, what I do is exactly what they need to add in for their career. You know, oh, I need the strength and conditioning. I need the smarter training and not just burning myself out with every workout. And then I say, okay, you know, here's how it works. This is what you need. Oh yeah, no, I can't invest in that right now. Okay, so you need it. This is what's going to take you to the next level, but you can't invest in it right now. And guys, I get it. Money's tight, but you need to find a fucking way if you want to achieve the goals you have in your career. That's it. There's no way around that. And so as we move further along this story of, again, changing habits, I got to the point where I got comfortable at this gym. I got comfortable. I was making an okay living. I was steady every month. I was bringing in clients. I was learning networking, all of these things. And I was in a much better place. Now, I won't go into details about this, but the business had its issues. And 2.5 years into working there, I decided to move off on my own and start my own business instead, which again came from a very uncomfortable place, came from a place of changing habits. So that uncomfortable place was the fact that I knew at this gym, at this point, we had switched over to being salaried employees. I knew when I was at this gym, I had a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks. When I left, I didn't have shit coming in every 2 weeks. It was up to me to start fresh, and it's up to me to make it work. And this was me basically saying, it's my one shot. I'm going to give it a go. I either make it or I fucking don't. And this is the only person that I have to blame for the success or for the failure. So as I started my own business, I realized if I was going to survive, I needed to make some more shifts, because now it was 100% on me. Because at that last gym, yeah, it was on me to bring in clients, but I had that out of, blaming the gym if something didn't work. Oh, clients are leaving because the gym systems aren't good. Or, oh, the gym's prices are too expensive, so that's why the client didn't want to sign up. I had that out of being able to say it's their fault, not it's my fault. Now I was on my own. If I was going to make this work, I'm looking in the mirror to see the result of the success or the failure. It's on me and nobody fucking else. And I realized there were more shifts I had to make. So one of the first things I did is I started by cutting down and eventually cut out alcohol completely from my life. And the reason I did that, honestly, I did have some addictive tendencies for it, but mostly the reason that I did that was to keep myself more clear-headed, keep myself better, more well-rested, and in turn, keep myself better focused on the business itself, on growing, on better serving clients, and on the things that are actually going to push my life forward and show me the success that I want in my life. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed going out, having some drinks, getting a little goofy, all of that. But this business means more to me than that. Serving my clients to the highest level that I can means more to me than that. Bringing this podcast to you guys 5 times a week means more to me than that. So I cut it the fuck out, because if I was going to make this work, I didn't want to put myself in a position where I was doing something every week that was taking away from me making this work. And that's what I want you guys to take away from this as well. If you want to make your athletic career work, you need to minimize the shit you're doing that is taking you away from that goal. So if you're training really hard all week and then you're getting blackout drunk every Friday night and then dragging your hungover ass to sparring on Saturday, you're taking yourself further away from that goal. Yeah, you're still showing up, but that session is garbage and you fucking know it. And if you're trying to be a high-level athlete, you can't afford to have those garbage sessions every week, because guess what? Your next opponent is dialed the fuck in while you're being an idiot. Maybe not that opponent even, but 2 opponents down the road, 3 opponents down the road, that shot where the UFC brass is watching you and this is your make or break time, that opponent is dialed the fuck in while you're being a fucking idiot. And you're sitting here wondering why you're not further along in your career. It's simple. So cut out the shit that is putting you further from those goals. And that's why I cut out alcohol. I cut alcohol out because every week I was doing something that was taking me away from improving my services as a coach. I was taking away from improving my ability to grow my business, taking away from improving my ability to get out there on social media more like I knew I needed to. And so I cut it the fuck out. And the next thing that I shifted is I leveled up the networking and the mentorship that I was involved in. And I joined a program called the Change Lives Academy, which, wow, I could not be happier with that decision. These guys are just an incredible business coaching program. I'm in their $1 million mastermind now. And honestly, this was the best decision I ever made. But The original investment was over 3/4 of my savings account, and I handed it over with, again, that mentality of this either works or I'm fucked. It was at a higher level. Now I had a little bit more in the bank, but this higher level program put me back into that position where I have to make this work or I'm fucked. And that's a scary position to be in. But the reason I've been able to generate the amount of success that I have, the reason that I've been able to grow my business to the size that it's at right now, serving 50 plus athletes around the world, the reason that I've been able to see higher level athletes coming to me now, asking questions about training and develop more of an authority online as a coach that can help you, is because I put that money into myself. I put that investment down, even though it was over 3/4 of what I had to my fucking name. And we were still in the middle of a global pandemic where the world was kind of in and out of being locked down. I put that money down into myself. I made that investment in me that now is thousands of dollars every single month in mentorship. And the reason that I did that was because that is what it takes to achieve the goals that I have for my career. That is what it takes to grow the business that I want. That is what it takes to learn the delivery systems to serve my athletes at the highest possible level. That's what it takes. And my goal is not to be some average coach in this industry. My goal is to fucking dominate. And if I'm going to fucking dominate in this industry like I know I will, then these kind of investments need to happen, because this is what separates you. Being willing to do the things that others aren't willing to do doesn't mean hours in the gym. Being willing to do the things that others aren't willing to do is putting yourself in that position of this works or I'm fucked. Putting yourself in that position of betting on you, putting skin in the fucking game. So if you want to change your future for the better, you need to put skin in the game, and you need to start changing your habits. You need to level yourself up as a person. What are you doing that's taking away from your goals? What are you doing that's taking away from your goals? And what's one step today that you can take that is going to move you further towards them? Because I can tell you, if I told 20-year-old Kenny that he would be investing over $20,000 in a year on mentorship, he would have shit himself. But here's where we are 10 years later. Over $20,000 this year to improve my business, to improve my delivery, to improve my marketing, to improve the service that I'm delivering to my athletes, to improve my coaching knowledge so that I can deliver higher level programs. Over $20,000 in the year. But by focusing on taking one step forward and improving today, that's how I got here. Now, because if you look back at that whole story, and I just have notes here to make sure that I'm going through it properly. If I look back at that whole story, 20 years old, zero self-belief, 24 years old, still zero self-belief, but finally making some sort of stride towards actually achieving the goals that I have. Making one habit shift of listening to personal development stuff every single day for months. Then making another habit shift, stop looking for the cheapest possible thing and actually put some investment, some skin in the game by investing in my networking group. And then eventually started learning more about social media and putting concentrated effort into growing on social media so that I can become more of an authority online and develop the business that I'm looking for. That was a difficult fucking thing. My first podcast, I was so nervous. I barely remember I was so nervous. I was sweating through my shirt. And it's like, here we are 236 episodes later, and it's second fucking nature. I could do this all fucking day. And it's because I put myself out there in a position that made me uncomfortable, and I put the fucking work into making it better. Now, investing in that, investing in social media and understanding in social media, and then later on, starting my own business, stepping out of my comfort zone again, opening up my gym that in turn was, a lot of money every single month that I wasn't sure that I had, but I bet on myself. Cutting alcohol out of my life to be able to level up as a human being and in turn continue to level up as a coach and a business owner. Investing over $20,000 in a year to put myself in the position that I'm in right now. No one shift here was incredibly large, but it's the continually showing up day after day after day for 10 fucking years that put me in that position. So what I really want to do is, first of all, thank you for anyone that has made it this far in the episode. I appreciate you. But what I really want to do is I really want you guys to take away the fact that where you're at right now, the day-to-day habits you have right now are not enough to get you to the level you want to get to. There's something you can do better. There's something you can improve on. And if you're always looking for that next level, if you're looking for that level where you're going to put something into it that's going to make you go, holy fuck, I got to make this work, make you uncomfortable, make you sweat, make you nervous like that, that is what's going to help you reach that next level. That is what's going to put you in the position where you are going to turn into the next level version of yourself because you fucking have to. So that is it. That is all. In case you can't tell, I was very passionate about this topic, but all of you, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you, especially those who made it all the way to the end. My one ask of you, as always, is to share the show with a friend, share the show with a teammate, share the show with someone who needs to hear this message. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again.